What if I shit in a public restroom and don't flush?
I think that's a jerky thing to do.
that
He's
immoral?
blameworthy, but it's not either of those.
Hello and welcome to Things We Talk About, a podcast where we have conversations
that matter.
Here with me always, forever, by my side is my dear friend,
Lazarus Kane.
Lazarus Kane. What's up, man?
Not a whole lot.
So let me tell you, listeners, this podcast has been born and mutated out of compromise. And it's a give and take relationship between Lazarus Kane and myself, because we, despite being like-minded in a lot of areas, are two very different people in how we approach things, for better or for worse. I like to think that I'm right. He believes that he's right. Regardless.
He likes to think that he's right. I know that he's wrong. You know.
Tomato, tomato.
Yeah.
So, basically, the introduction was my thing, because I think it's hilarious that every episode it says boner.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that I gave up, things that I wanted to do, that you, Lazarus
Are we in marriage
Kane,
counseling now?
said, you know, I think it would be better if we do it this way.
Okay.
I said, fine.
Yeah.
So, and then another thing would come across and say, I think it would be better if we did it this way. I said, okay, fine. And sometimes I get pissed. I get over it pretty quickly, but sometimes it pisses me off. But the one thing that I know that you 100% compromised on is that introduction.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know you didn't want boners in your face every episode. But whenever I envision you, I just envision you with boners in your face.
Oh, okay. So it's just an association thing.
Yeah, it's a
good to know that you are regularly picturing that in your head.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, bones have a lot of uses, like bone marrow or glue from horses.
Yeah.
And speaking of horses, what kind of hat am I wearing today?
You're wearing your glue hat.
My glue hat, which is a hat that has
embroidered horses on it.
What kind of shirt am I wearing today?
Is that your glue shirt?
It's a black stallion.
It's a pretty metal shirt, so I didn't think it was glue.
No, it's not. It's not. So, I wear hats a lot, as you're coming to know. I wear a lot of hats on the weekends and on my time off.
Sure.
Mostly to keep the hair out of my face, because I do have long hair. When I didn't have long hair, I never wore hats. Mm-hmm. I did sometimes, but not really a lot.
Cool story, bro.
But the actual story behind, I have 3 hats that I wear, and only 3. I've had other ones, I don't wear them, but I wear these 3 because they have really significant stories behind them.
Okay.
This one in particular, I wanted to make sure, this is what I was telling you about earlier, I want to make sure I didn't repeat this story because I don't know if I did. I've told this to a million people because it's a funny story.
Okay.
But when I was working in the bank, I think they were a gay couple. I don't know, this is back when gay marriage was banned. Or outlawed, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it was not the law of the land.
It was not the law of the land at the time.
Yes.
So this couple came in all the time, and they were older. They were both on disability, and I say older, so they're probably like in their early 50s, late 40s.
Okay.
Kind of white trash, you know. But they were really nice guys. They came and saw me all the time. Mm-hmm. And the one guy's name was Randy Randall.
Nice.
And I took a picture of his driver's license because I would tell the story and no one would believe me. You know, because that already sounds ridiculous that someone named Randall gets a customer named Randy Randall.
Yeah.
So anyways, they come to my office all the time with like the dumbest issues. Something that like it's not a problem, but they don't understand finance, despite their age and despite how many times I break down and teach them how to budget. They just don't. It just didn't make sense.
Doesn't stick.
Which whatever. I believe some people just aren't capable of understanding something as simple as that, and that's okay. You know, I got
financial planners exist.
Yeah, and that I was basically a free financial planner for them because that was the policy of the bank that I worked at.
Putting out for free.
So, so they come into the branch and they're wearing this hat, and it looked so silly. And I looked at them facetiously and semi-ironically. I said, "Dude, I really like your hat." Because, as you know, I like to say positive things to people, and it's an artistry to be able to insult somebody, laugh at that person, and then feel complimented.
Yeah.
Because then everybody wins. They feel like they've been complimented. I get a laugh.
So what you're saying is you failed that day.
No. So they're wearing a hat, and they say, "Oh, thank you Thank you. They're both wearing the same hat, which is totally a gay thing, I guess. But old people, I guess it's an old person thing. Old people love them to match.
I think it's a weird people thing, but okay.
Well, so we'll go with that. It's a weird people thing. So then they go home after like whatever I did. They come back an hour later with a bag, and it's got like this. It's like leopard print with like the hair on the outside. I don't know.
It was an extremely gay bag.
Extremely gay. And I said, thanks guys. I'll open this when I have time. I don't have time right now. I got someone in my office. Thanks. They gave me like a hug. It's really nice. Mm-hmm. Open it, and it's the hat.
It's a hat.
It's the hat that they were wearing, not like a hat. And so I called him up. I said, what's the deal with this hat, man? He goes, well, you were so nice to us, and you've always been so nice to us, and you said that you liked the hat. We thought we should just give it to you. Mm-hmm. And so I washed it, of course, because it's gross. But super nice, and that was kind of born out. This hat exists born out of making fun of somebody.
That's what I'm saying. You failed. Because the whole point is that you have made some fun of someone, everybody laughs, but they still feel complimented. They did not realize that you were making fun of them.
Yeah, but that to me is a win.
Okay.
That is the ultimate
So you
win.
get away with it, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I get away with it.
Oh,
and not only do I
okay.
get away with it, but they're happy.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between being a con man and a con artist.
We make fun of people for very different reasons.
Well, it ended up being a win-win, and I wear this hat all the time because it's hilarious to me because I hate horses.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're so gross.
So, yeah. What's funny is the hat is stuck to you now.
What do you mean? Because it's glue?
Yeah,
oh,
exactly.
That's awesome.
Because you complimented their glue hat, and now it's stuck to you.
Well, I'm rubber. You're glue. So then I've got another hat that I think you've seen me wear. It's the blue hat. It says Vans on the front.
Yeah.
I got that one when I went to Vans Warped Tour. I used to go every year for a very long time, and then I got a little bit too old and realized like everyone there is like a teenager, and I'm at least 12 years of everyone's
You
senior.
are now that guy.
I am that guy, and I don't want to be that guy. And plus, like, I'm too old for mosh pits. Like, what?
You, like, hurt someone or get hurt.
Yeah, one or the other, and they both sound terrible. Like, I still like going to metal shows, but I pay extra to get the balcony seats.
Yeah.
So I don't have to, like, be down in the pit.
Mezzanine.
I can watch the pit. I don't have to be in the pit.
Yeah.
So I'm at...
That's just where I want to be in society. I'm just saying.
With my little stupid glasses on, watching...
Oh, yeah, with the opera glasses.
Opera glasses.
Like,
watching the contortionist to just destroy the stage.
Yeah.
So I'm at the Warped Tour. I'm at Warped Tour, and there's this mosh. I forget what band we were watching, but there's a mosh pit going on in front of me. And Warped Tour, I don't know if you've ever been, but it's pretty much like 7 mosh pits going on at all times, because there's alternating stages and different bands being played at different times, and all of them. It used to be punk rock, but now it's mostly metal, and metal is mosh pits. So there's this mosh pit going on in front of me, and some guy gets jacked, gets right up, and this runs off back into the pit. And there's probably at least like 50 people in the pit. It was huge. And I see a hat on the ground. And so I pick it up, and I hold it up in the air in case anybody sees it. And if it's theirs and they see it, they'll say, yo, dude, that's my hat. But nobody came.
I was hoping he was going to clothesline you.
I was hoping anything because it was someone else's hat. And it was that year's hat. So obviously they had just bought it for like $20, like an overpriced hat. And it's so chintzy and such a garbage hat that like it probably cost 10 cents to make, if that. So I pick up the hat, I hold it up in the air, nothing happens, nobody shows up. So okay, well, I'm going to stand here for the next 15 minutes after the performance is over with this stupid hat in the air. If nobody gets it, I'm just going to keep this thing. And sure enough, I did that. Nobody showed up.
Everyone's like, what's that dude holding a hat in the air?
Yeah, but I'm already the weird guy because I'm like, in my late 20s.
Yeah.
Going to Warped Tour.
Yeah.
So I put the hat on and I walked around with it the rest of the day. And my thought process, well, if anyone says, yo, I lost a hat like that, is that mine? I would give it to them without question because it shouldn't belong to me. Nobody did, and now I wear that hat all the time.
And now it is yours forever.
It is mine. And I have a third hat that I wear. It's the guitar brand hat that I wear. I usually flip it backwards because it's actually like a nice hat.
Yeah, yeah.
Like this one and then the other one.
And you can't stand looking nice, so you have to flip it backwards.
True. Yeah. I hate looking
like
nice.
Like a semi-decent,
a civilized human being.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I refuse to sell out that way. I'll sell out other ways. So I am this hat. Best Buy used to sell music equipment. I don't know if you knew that.
I can remember that happening, but I don't know if those are actual memories or I've just constructed them. So, but sure.
Up until recently, probably a couple years ago, they sold music equipment. And Best Buy opens at 10. Guitar Center opens at 11. So what I used to do is I would take my daughter, who was very little at the time, and go to Best Buy on Saturdays. Go to Best Buy at 10, hang out, play music for an hour, bang around in the electric drum kits that they have, like show her some stuff on guitar, and then go next door to Guitar Center and actually buy something.
Oh man, I thought you were going to say that you bought stuff at Best Buy and then sold it at Guitar Center and made money.
No, because they're both very expensive.
Right, but if Guitar Center is more expensive than Best Buy, or whatever.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Honestly, I wish I thought about that.
You failed me.
Well, here's what I did, is that one Saturday I walk in with my daughter and we go to play. Her hair's in braids. She looks super cute. We go back to play some music in the music center at Best Buy. So I'm like, hey, cool. I like this hat. This is a cool hat. So I put it on my head. I play music for 45 minutes to an hour until Guitar Center opens. I just walk the fuck out.
Yeah. I did that with a sandwich once.
A sandwich?
Yeah. I had friends who worked at the Winn-Dixie Deli, and I would just come in and visit them because I did not have a job. And I was desperate for basic human attention. So I went to... So I would just hang out, and they'd be working in the deli, and I'd just be like, "What's up?" and just talk to them, and it was slow and stuff like that. But also, of course, they couldn't work at Publix or something like that. I couldn't get that lucky.
Right.
And so
you didn't know me yet.
So yeah, so I went to the deli, and I would get a sub, and then I just sort of hung out for long enough, and sort of walked around, and then I was like, "Oh, I have to be somewhere," and I just walked out. It's still in my hand.
Now, did you realize that
after the fact?
At what point did you realize that there was a sandwich in your hand that you didn't pay for?
I was home.
Okay.
I was a significant distance away.
For me,
I was like, did I pay for that?
It was the parking lot, and I said, what?
Oh, okay. No excuses.
I should probably go back and pay for this. I was like, yeah, but it's fucking Best Buy.
But also, free hat, am I right?
Yeah, exactly. It's my dad has the same hat, and it's cool. I was like, whatever, I'll just go to Guitar Center and wear it. And I did, and I've had that hat ever since. But that goes to beg the question about ethics. What is it that allows...
Do you deliberately assemble ham-fisted transitions? I think you're actually trying to do that now.
No, it's always... This is completely natural.
Uh-huh.
All natural or go home.
Yeah.
That's what I always say. So... What is it that allows me to be 100% comfortable walking out with a hat, or making fun of somebody and getting a hat and being okay with that, or taking someone's hat that I found on the ground? What is it about me that's so broken or so backwards where I have no problem doing that?
I don't think those are not at all the words that I would use, but I think assuming that I could answer this question for you, it has to do with the impact. There's not a whole lot of impact. What you have done is you have increased that location of Best Buy's shrinkage quotient.
Right.
Right.
Because they're cold.
Which is you did a cold thing. But that was bad.
Thank you.
So listen, I'm not
You're
perfect.
bothered
I'm not perfect.
So it's a matter of
all the time
how much it affects the person whom...
Yeah, that's the whole point of ethics, is to minimize our impact, or increase our impact depending on
which branch of ethics, whether it's a positive influence or a negative influence, or to some people it's negative but positive to others, the whole Robin Hood thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So ethics is obviously a genuinely massive it's a discipline. It's a whole thing, and we could do an 8-hour episode and not even touch on everything.
Okay.
So we're going to do the best we can with the time that we have. Having said that, Yeah, so like a lot of ethics boils down to impact. Like is something, or rather even is something right or wrong, right? And why is that?
That's kind of what I mean. Is it wrong that you stole the sandwich?
Well, what do you qualify? What is wrong? Like what makes something wrong?
Well, that was my question to you. Is I believe it's kind of like a personal belief system that we have. That's an ethics. It's up to the individual.
It's an ethics. Yeah.
I said and.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
ethics.
Yeah.
It's because I have my viewpoints, and I've been ethically challenged most of my life.
I believe that.
In a lot of areas.
Yeah.
Because I simply just don't care. But a lot of people are very principled, and they care about the littlest thing when it comes to breaking the rules.
Yes.
Now, such as something so simple as showing up on time to work. A lot of people would consider that a violation of their ethics code.
So here's the thing. Like you could, but I don't think, like, depending on what you do for work, right? Like if you're a heart surgeon or something, then yeah, probably that plays into ethics. But generally, no. Like, is it on the scale? Yes, but it's an outlier.
But if it's impact, I mean, you're impacting other people.
Are you?
Not you, but let's say I was late every day, which
Sure.
I'm late. I'm early to everything.
Sure.
I'm never late.
Sure.
Unless it's out of my hands, I refuse to be late.
Sure.
That's one of the few principles I have, is timeliness,
Yes.
punctuality,
Yes.
and then some. So
Yes.
if I'm late on my team, if I'm 30 minutes late, everyone else's day
Yeah.
is pushed back 30 minutes.
Sure.
Because I do so much preparation for everyone else in the morning that if I show up at a later time, then it pushes and impacts everybody else on my team.
Sure.
So if I were to say, well, I mean, it's not like a huge deal because, I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
You get the job done anyways.
So, and I agree with you, right? And then that has to do with your impact on other people, and then that it's not so much the being late.
It's not just my impact on other people, but how much I care about that impact.
Well, that's a whole nother matter. Like, should you care?
Ethics is a personal thing, and that's what I'm saying. It's up to the individual, and you can try to force your ethics on other people and moralize them and tell them that this is wrong and this is wrong and this is right, but it's always up to the individual.
So I mean, yes, but just because someone doesn't think it's wrong doesn't mean it's not wrong.
Up to you.
Right. Right. So like just because someone thinks that murdering someone in cold blood isn't wrong doesn't mean that it's up to them whether it's wrong.
Well, that's a legal thing though. It's a legal discourse.
No, it's not. It's not. So there's I have always seen it as there are morals and there are ethics, right? And while they look very similar,
Yeah.
they are not necessarily the same thing.
Okay.
Right. So the idea is that an ethical person knows what is right and what is wrong. But a moral person like actually abides by that. And so because
okay.
sometimes exceptions have to be
Because you
made.
can be an ethical person and be immoral,
Right.
but you cannot be
An
immoral person be
and
unethical.
Be unethical.
Okay.
Generally speaking.
Now,
the
there
world
are
is a big and strange place.
right. Because to some people, and I've used this example before about the contrast between like the Christian right and then the far left, is that their concept of what is right and wrong,
Right.
and they both passionately believe this,
Yeah.
and it's a personal belief. They both believe that something complete opposite
Yeah.
is right and what's wrong. Abortions, of course, we'll go into detail about that another time, but abortion's a good example to where the far right, the Christian right, the religious right says absolutely not,
Ever.
no example where it's possible or where it should be considered.
Yeah.
And the far left says, dude, I'm 9 months pregnant, shove a coat hanger in there, let's flush this shit.
I'm not sure about that. But in point of fact, the far right libertarians would argue that decision, that the coat hanger option that you've gone into is totally okay.
Yeah, I would be inclined to agree with that.
Right. So that's just what I'm saying. Is
I'm talking about the religious
it's not
right.
a right-left thing.
The religious right, not
Yeah.
the actual right itself, but the religious right and then that are moralizing, and then the left, the far left, that are also moralizing and saying my body, my choice. They both 100% believe that their ethics are what is correct.
I need you. I'm not disagree. Like I am disagreeing with you, but like I'm not. I need you to find me a left group, a leftist group, like a far left group that is in line with that.
That says my body, my choice?
No. That's because that's not what that phrase means. It means that like it's saying that like 9-month abortions are okay.
I'm not saying that because let's say the good example would be you have sex with somebody, you don't want to have a kid, you're not ready to have a kid, you just don't want one, and it's under the 3 months, which is I think is the federal law.
Yeah.
And you go flush that shit, right? You flush it out, throw it in the toilet.
It's not exactly how it works.
Down it goes,
even a little, but okay.
And then you walk out and high five your doctor and go have a sandwich. Or take a sandwich.
You live in an interesting and terrifying world.
But let's say it's a 3 months thing, because obviously the 9 months thing was
early
a
term
joke.
abortions.
But yeah, early term abortions. There is a side that believes early term abortions is heinous, and evil. Not just wrong, but evil and murder. And there's a side that believes with the same amount of passion that it is not.
Yeah.
In fact, it is their choice, and if they want to do that, they can, because the baby's not alive yet.
Yeah.
So what?
Well, because there are also lots of reasons.
Lots of reasons.
Yeah,
and You. I'm assuming you know where I stand on that. But for the sake of like the argument, what makes one more right than the other? Because they're both saying black and white. They're both saying good and bad.
Right. So so if we're talking about ethics in general, first of all, the goal of most philosophy is what's called ontological, which essentially means that it's truth focused, right? And so the goal is to come to a consensus, right? That's why we have philosophical journals and stuff like that, so things can be shared. We'd be like, no, well, we're wrong about this sort of thing. Well, what if we think about it this way? So the goal is to come up with a unified theory of philosophy. So because just taking a step back and saying like, well, everyone's right and everyone's wrong doesn't solve anything.
No, it does not.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the standstill I find myself at sometimes, is like, well, these motherfuckers over here are saying this, and these motherfuckers over there are saying that. And they both think what they're saying ethically is correct, and they are 100% in contrast.
Well, so usually when I encounter that, I say, fuck them. I don't care about them. I care about the center. Yeah, and the center is where everyone else is.
Yeah, and not just where everyone else is, but that's where the science is.
Yeah.
And that's where progression is. And that's where compromise is. And you can't... Yes, you're under the belief, and I agree with you, that you can't move forward without a certain party getting hurt.
Yeah.
But the better way to go about that is temporary compromise.
Oh, absolutely.
And then eventually it'll get... Like, a good temporary compromise would be the medical marijuana is a temporary compromise until it becomes recreational. It's a temporary compromise, a stepping stool until the next direction.
Which the right doesn't want, generally speaking.
Religious right.
Yeah, or many rights don't want it.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, well, there's lots of money involved.
We'll talk about that another time.
Yeah, exactly. So there's lots of reasons that don't have to do with ethics why you would not want that to happen.
Sure.
Right? So I think that's also super important when talking about right versus left.
Of course, I generalize everything all of the time. And you know that, so there's that disclaimer that says that obviously I don't think all these people think this and all those people think that. People are individuals.
We're going to have to like record like a standard boilerplate disclaimer for you.
I think most people are smart enough, not all people in this example, but most people are smart enough to understand that I use hyperbole in every example I've ever given.
I would like to think that.
Yeah, me too. It's a nice world.
I'm just worried that they're not.
That's how I sleep at night. Is that people understand that I speak in hyperboles.
Sure.
And hyperbolas. So ethics to you is about right and wrong. It's about yes and no.
So
black. It's black. Is it black and white to you?
Ethics. So to me, ethics is about how we regulate our morality. Like how because it's so hard to find universal morality and might be impossible. Ethics is how we develop a language to actually come to a consensus.
Okay.
Right? Because like we can agree, no matter how you feel about right or wrong or like the vast scheme of things, ethics allows us to talk about heart surgeons and say, okay, what are ethical guidelines, ethical ways to function as a
Right.
heart surgeon, right? And so we don't have to talk about what that heart surgeon does when he drives home, right? We don't, as long as it doesn't have to do with him surgeoning, right? In fact,
depends if he's famous or not. If he's famous and he does like some
That's
fucked up
different.
stuff on the side,
That's different.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with ethics clauses in his contract.
Ethics clauses.
Yeah, right. So basically, like whatever he's doing over there that causes him to have trouble at work, he signed something that he agreed that these stuff, which might not normally be considered ethical or unethical.
I got a friend.
Yeah.
Who says this, and I want to know where you stand on this. I have my opinion on it. It's a friend I've talked about before, but he doesn't understand why employers look at someone's Facebook to determine, or their social media to determine what they do in their personal time before they hire them. And there's been a lot of people who have been terminated from their job because of what they do in their personal life.
Yeah.
And he says it should never correlate. It shouldn't.
Yeah.
It should be completely separate, and it's not fair for these employers to cut these people out of the company because of what they're doing in their personal life. Now, how do you feel about that? Because that's an ethics question.
Yeah. And I think that I think that's a very complicated statement. There's a lot of points in it. I think that you work in Florida. It's the right to work state. Right and wrong doesn't come into it.
Right.
So ultimately in Florida, the argument is mute.
But let's just say
Moot.
over.
Not mute. Ugh.
Moot.
Moot. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. The argument is beep.
Yeah,
Quiet.
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So how do you feel? Like, where is Lazarus Kane? Not in the state of Florida, not what is according to the law, but what is the ethics of LC? What is the ethics of Lazarus Kane as far as employment and personal life?
So I think that when you hire someone,
Yes.
you have brought this person into your business based on who you believe them to be. And generally speaking, if they commit heinous acts outside of work,
Yeah.
that leads you to believe that they are not that they could be hazardous
Right.
to your business.
Right. I think it depends on how hazardous your personal life is.
Sure, absolutely.
Because if you are a heart surgeon and then you post on Facebook about how you like banging babies, or how you have like sex with your patients while they're under,
Yes, that would be a problem.
Obviously,
Right.
but if you like are into BDSM, or you're just like some kind of like a weirdo in a way, or like super religious or something, believe in spiritual prayer and stuff, like spiritual healing,
Faith healing.
Yeah.
Well, that's a red flag.
It's a red flag, but like if you're a heart surgeon and you're doing a good job in your heart surgery, but you also believe in this other placebo thing, I don't know if that should matter as
There's
much.
a really good special, and I'm kicking myself for that. I've already talked to you about. That I'm kicking myself for not having gone and looked up to find out who this guy is. I'll put it in the show notes.
You keep saying that, but you never have.
We have like 4 shows up, and now we actually have a place to put show notes. So
All right. It's just saying, I've heard that before.
listen, you. This guy is a philosopher. He's a big
Right.
deal philosopher. I believe he's a big deal philosopher. Hope he's a big deal philosopher. Otherwise, he's gonna look like
Big
an
deal
idiot.
to you.
Big deal. Well, you know, he is like he's a big deal.
Okay.
And he's having a conversation with Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Neil deGrasse Tyson tell him how smart he is, and
No, not at all. So the question then becomes, can someone who is a young Earth creationist be considered credible if they're like a physicist?
You and
Or a
I
heart surgeon.
have had a similar question before.
Yeah.
About someone who's an actor. Can they be considered to be legitimate when they cry when giving a speech?
I mean, it's
very
in
much a
that their
parallel.
profession, even in that their profession plays into it. Yeah. So the thing is that while Neil deGrasse Tyson is that, like, if the science is there, like if they can write papers and stuff like that where the science is there, then it shouldn't matter. Like, as long as they're doing their job and they're doing it reasonably well,
Right.
then it's good to go.
Yeah,
right?
And that's how I feel about it too. What you do in your personal life and
Right.
what you believe, as long as you're doing your job effectively, shouldn't matter. But as soon as you become ineffective at what you're doing based on what you believe in,
Yeah.
that's a problem.
So the guy that he's talking to, right, argues that if he, so like, that sounds good in like a, well, everybody ends up happy sort of way. So like, Neil deGrasse Tyson's opinion is that as long as the science is there, as long as you're effective at your job, it doesn't matter what you believe, because you're contributing or whatever. And the guy's response is, I understand why you might say that. However, if I am going to get eye surgery or something like that, and I find out that the surgeon is operating under the idea that we think with our hearts or something like that, right? Or, that represents a flaw so deep in their logic,
right,
that it then becomes concerning. And so if you have someone who is a young earth creationist, but like writes papers, like physics papers or quantum physics papers, or like has to do with the Big Bang, stuff like that, right? Then it's like, well, what else do they believe, right?
I think it's good to have people of a radical view, no matter how wrong they are, and it's good to hear them out. I think it's good to keep people with radical opposing views in your circle.
Yeah,
to keep you grounded.
There's a difference between radical views and obsolete views.
Continue.
Radical views are like, string theory used to be a radical view. Now it's fairly mainstream.
The what?
String theory? String theory is a particular like flavor of quantum theory where it talks about the very fabric of the universe. And
is that why it's called the string theory? Because strings of fabric.
No, well,
together?
Sort of actually.
Okay.
It posits that like when you get down far enough, the most indivisible point is not atoms or subatomic particles.
Okay.
It's vibrating strings of energy.
Okay.
You
say
the example is like a violin, or like a string instrument. There's just vibrate at certain frequencies, and then
yes, that's how
yes, exactly.
Okay. That makes sense.
So string theory used to be like this radical theory, and then now it's sort of more commonplace. That's
commonplace,
what a radical,
yes.
But whereas phlogiston theory, for example, what? Yeah.
You made the sound for me.
Right, yeah. Randall's eyebrows just about embedded themselves into the ceiling.
Theory.
Yeah, phlogiston theory.
Phallic.
No, phlogiston theory. It is with a PH, though. So phlogiston theory is a theory that existed in the 1800s.
Okay.
And it posited the way that it was a it was a paradigm for biology, basically. It was how biology functioned. The idea was that there was this life force that existed in living things. It's how they did, like, a rock is not alive, but a person is. One of the reasons is the things that are alive have phlogiston.
What they call is like a spirit or a soul.
Right. It was essentially, and so phlogiston was energy that moved through living things, and you could see like it moved through nerves and stuff like that.
Was he also into astrology and like
numerology?
Like
no. Phlogiston was the accepted paradigm.
Okay.
Like extremely serious people who advanced biology were like, yes. And the thing is, that's one of the things when you talk about history and philosophy of science is like, how could you believe these things? It's like the answer is because of their paradigm. They looked at biology and saw the structures that transmitted phlogiston.
Let me break down that sentence. What even is a paradigm?
A paradigm?
Yes.
A paradigm is the way you think about things. It is the sum total of your view of reality.
Okay.
right? And so when you talk about paradigm shifts, like geocentrism was a paradigm, which is to say that the Earth was the center of the universe and everything revolved around
Right,
it.
which is
that
was scientifically a fact for a very long time.
Yeah, it was so that was the paradigm, and then the paradigm shifted. It changed to heliocentrism, where the sun was the center of everything, and everything revolved around the sun. And then we moved away from that entirely and shifted again to realize that it's not the center of everything. Right. And so there are numerous paradigm shifts in every science.
There's a lot of philosophers who had a lot of good ideas that were radical and a lot of bad ideas that were radical.
Yeah, Newton was an alchemist. We don't talk about that because it's not relevant to the work that he did.
And Henry Ford was a huge racist.
That's neither here nor there, as he was not a scientist.
No, but I mean, like, a lot of like heroes that we lift up. And
that we don't talk about.
Yeah, we don't talk about their bad side.
All we care about is their
Or like Socrates, like Socrates was this huge philosopher, but also like banging babies.
No. He was, corruption of the youth is what you're talking about, was the charge that why he was put to death.
No. I'm not talking about that. A lot of men in that day, not babies, but boys, baby boys.
So there was a whole cultural, not baby boys, like 13-year-olds.
That to me is a baby boy.
There was this whole like system of pederasty that we can go into. But it wasn't just banging. The older male also then had an obligation to pay for this boy's education.
Yeah, it's like when I take a girl home from the bar, I have to pay her for her drinks.
No.
Okay.
Never say that again.
But if you take a little boy, a 13-year-old boy, and you say, this little boy's mine, you pay for his education, but you get free range on his asshole.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, like, it's, you know what?
Whatever takes
it's
higher education, man.
Like, this is not the episode where we're talking about pederasty in ancient Greece, okay? We can do a whole thing.
It's an ethical thing, and ethics has to do with culture.
The moral paradigm at the time said that was super good, right?
It was super good.
It was the way things worked.
So good.
Right, because otherwise the boy might not be able to afford education, and so would not be able to support his parents and stuff like that.
So according to Socrates, you got to bang the poor.
According to the Greeks, he didn't invent this. This was in place for centuries or millennia before he came along.
The slippery Greeks.
Olive oil, it helps.
All right, well let's take a quick break, guys. If you are moral and you have any justice in your DNA and your thought process, you will donate to our Patreon.
Don't guilt people into it unless it works. Hey listeners, let me tell you about how to help us help you become more informed and more entertained.
Yeah, so go to our Patreon page and take a look at what we have to offer. We appreciate you joining our conversation and in the process helping us get better equipment, better content, and provide you with even more content.
Not only that, the Patreon has a tiered system of rewards that lets us give back to those who give more. We've got a ton of things planned as rewards, from unscripted before and after recordings of spontaneous conversations to conversations that try and get Randy to actually read something for a change, with interesting and hilarious consequences if he doesn't, to Randall's Rants, where I try to see just how easy it is for Randy to fly off the handle for basically no reason.
Here's a hint, it's pretty fucking easy. Remember, by becoming a patron, you are directly assisting in the growth and ability for us to move us one step closer to providing more and better content, and soon enough, do it full time.
Aw, yeah. So, to learn more, go to patreon.com/TWTAPATREON. That's patreon.com/TWTA Patreon to learn more about our goals and what we've got to offer.
Thanks for spelling that out for us, buddy. And we are back. So we're talking about ethics. We're talking about what is an ethics. We're talking about what is it that makes people do and not do the things that they do. Because I have a friend who is potentially the most ethical person I've ever met in my life. Now, he won't lie. He won't cheat. He won't step over any rule. He doesn't even speed.
Sure.
Doesn't even go a mile over the speed limit. And everything that he does. And now he loves the virtue signal about it. He loves to tell people that he's that way and loves the compliments that he gets about how ethical he is.
Mm-hmm.
And he's broken the rules a few times because he's my friend and he's like covered my back because I'm so the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm.
Because we used to work together and he would have to, like, I would do something stupid and he would have to cover my tracks.
Yeah.
But then you're at like a standstill of an ethical person of, do I help my friend whom I say that I love and endear, or do I follow my principles and throw this dude under the bus?
Right. So like that's when I was talking about morality versus ethics. Like that's exactly what I was talking about, is that like he remained moral even though he was making unethical decisions.
Right.
And in fact, a lot of, like, we talked about heart surgeons, like, rules, like, and stuff like that. A lot of medical rules, ethics, official ethics, have exceptions in exigent circumstances.
Dude, I'm so glad that I don't work in that kind of field, because I'd be selling people's livers. Like, I'd be letting
I don't know, man. You can make some serious bucks. Like,
I'd be letting people die so I can sell their organs. Like, do you know how much money you can make doing that?
I don't know exactly.
But I imagine it's an incredible amount. I would do that for 5 years and never work a day in my life.
Well, if that's what you wanted to do, you would move to, like, Thailand or something like that, like Malaysia.
Well, who cares about those people?
And then,
right.
Well, no, we're, like,
I agree with you.
Selling your organs is a thing.
Oh.
And like it's still a black market thing, but it is a known thing amongst the poor populace.
Now, do you feel as LC, as Lazarus Kane, do you feel that it's
extremely unethical?
Okay, but is it immoral?
It is both unethical and immoral.
Okay.
And it is 110% exploiting the poverty of the local populace.
Okay, but what if, like, the doctor himself has a gun to his kids' heads, and this dude from the Filipino mafia says, "Yo, dog, like, I'm gonna kill your kids if you don't start selling me some livers."
Right. Well, so, like, that doesn't make it not unethical or immoral. It just means that you were forced to do an unethical or immoral thing.
Okay. But would you fault the guy?
Probably not. So
I sure wouldn't. Fuck those people.
There's a third dimension here, and it's actually come up in a previous episode or two, where it's unethical, immoral, and blameworthiness.
Blameworthiness is we definitely talked about in the first episode about the degree of separation to the point of blameworthiness.
Exactly. Right. And so someone can, so as you've just pointed out, someone can theoretically be unethical and immoral and still not be blameworthy.
But the blameworthiness, I think, depends on who's looking at it.
99.9995% of the time, someone who is both immoral and unethical is blameworthy. That's the whole point of having those, those barometers.
Yeah, I would imagine. Now, could you at least agree with me? You don't have to. Obviously, you don't have to agree with me. Mm-hmm. But morality and ethics, as different as they can be, and we'll explain. I'll have you explain that in a minute, like the specifics of what separates the two.
It's like hard to do, but okay.
If anyone can do it, it would be Lazarus Kane.
Aww.
So, excuse me. So let's say these two things are separate, right? Ethics are not always immoral, and immoral is not always ethics.
They are inherently, like, ethics are morals in an ideal world, I think would be a safe way to put that.
Okay.
Right. And
yeah, let's go ahead and go into that now. Like, what is the difference?
So, like, I think a great way to put it is that ethics are morals in an ideal world, and 90% of the time, ethics are the way to run, or more. 90% or more. Like, that's why you design ethical systems and codes of ethics and stuff like that.
But that obviously evolves with time.
Sure, certainly.
Because not that long ago, like, a dude banging a dude was, like, immoral and unethical.
So, immoral, possibly, depending on who you talk to.
Right.
Unethical. That would have to do with the profession and stuff like that.
And that was my argument from the beginning, is that it's a personal thing. Like how I was brought up and the influence that I had growing up and the influence I've had as an adult, and what I've read, what I've listened to, what I've seen has evolved my sense of ethics and morals to think, if you want to bang a dude, I don't give a shit.
Right. So the problem is that, like, so ethics, when we talk about ethics, it's not personal. Like, it is not merely personal. Ethics, when we talk about it, is almost always has to do with a larger system.
It's a populace.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I get
There are
it.
codes of ethics and stuff like that
Right.
have been put in place and that we have agreed by social contract and whatnot, or literal signing a contract that this is how someone should function. Almost all the time.
Yeah, almost all the time.
Yeah. And so yeah. So actually, I want to jump back, while I still have it in my head,
Let's jump back then.
to paradigms.
Okay.
Right. And so the idea is that the difference between a radical paradigm and an obsolete paradigm. And so the idea is that an obsolete paradigm would be that which facilitated pederasty in ancient Greece.
Yeah.
It does not track in today's
Yeah, it's no longer
culture.
okay to bang boys.
Right.
Even if you pay for the college education.
Right. Right. According to our ethics, according everything. Like
Yeah.
it is an obsolete paradigm. Likewise.
Unless you're Catholic.
Like, no.
No?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. It is an obsolete paradigm. And so just because you say that and it is completely contrary to the way things function doesn't make it radical. It just, because it doesn't track. So like in the same way that just because someone holds a belief that is 50 years old, right?
At least.
At least,
Right.
or something like that.
Like women need to wear burqas when they go outside.
Or that it's not okay for men to have sex with each other consensually, even consensually or whatever.
Well,
like
yeah. Obviously consensual.
obviously even yeah. So it's not, but
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
there are all
yes.
sorts of arguments that like can consent be given for an inherently whatever.
We'll go there another time.
Yeah. So the point is that if it's not radical, it's just obsolete. And just because a lot of people think it and yell it real loud doesn't make any less obsolete.
Oh, I agree with you.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. So what we can do is we can move from there and we can talk about how yes, morals are general and stuff like that, but just because you hold these obsolete morals, right, doesn't make it right.
Yeah,
Doesn't
but
make
they're,
it okay.
to me, obviously to me, because I'm saying this, but
Or just
if
society in
you
general.
believe that your way, and honestly, I 100% agree with you, but then I've got Grandma Jones, the trailer park treasurer over here, saying that she believes the exact opposite that you do, and that what you do with your life is immoral, it's irresponsible, and it's wrong. And that is how she holds herself.
Right. And
Those
so,
are her ethics, and those are her beliefs. That's her belief system.
right. And the thing is that, so philosophy, like we said, is all about like arriving at a truth, right? And stuff like that. It's about talking about this sort of thing.
Right.
In a philosophy paper, you can say whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
Like Grandma Jones can go ahead and she can write a 6-page, 20-page
She can't.
philosophy
She
paper.
can't read or write.
But the thing is that you have to be able to justify that. You have to be able to to fight the counterintuitiveness.
What sucks about that, man, is there are a lot of people with a lot of like contrary good ideas that aren't fighters.
Then
It's
too bad,
tough.
so sad.
Right, and I get that, and I'm actually okay with that. I believe in capitalism, but it just
Or any kind of progress.
where it's conflict. It's any sort of competition. I believe in competition. It's just sometimes the good people, or maybe not so good people, depending on who you are, have really good ideas, but they say, well, fuck it, this guy's a better speaker than me, or this guy can say it better than I can, or this guy looks really good when he or she says it, but when I say it, it's I'm not an excellent orator.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So the flip side of blameworthiness is praiseworthiness. And so then we start like I think where you're going with this, or where you're going now, is
with or without with or without my consent.
you're being
Raped.
subject napped.
Subject mapped. Okay.
Yeah. Rape is never funny. So if someone is praiseworthy but they are not praised, is that immoral?
I don't even understand that sentence.
So the idea, so your whole thing is that like what sucks is this person has really good ideas, but they're like, oh, I don't have I'm not a good speaker, or I'm not pretty.
Well,
I'm
not even like saying that to themselves, but let's say they are
They
not.
are not. Like,
they
have these
genuinely
flaws.
suck.
Right. Right.
It's like George W. Bush in front of a microphone. Like, you shouldn't do it.
You can say what you want. He became president.
But when he was president,
Clearly
there's a lot of
he had
stuff
redeeming qualities.
that he did. But there's a lot of things he just should not have said, because he's not President Obama, who can make anything sound pretty.
Sure.
Without the that he does, or the that he does. But besides that, he was of an excellent orator. Like,
Well, I mean, he made it part of his brand.
excellent.
Yeah.
Right?
Right, exactly.
But there are people out there, I think, with really good ideas about their moral system, their moral compass, who just can't.
Right.
And when you have the Lazarus Canes out there that are articulate but dumb as shit.
Die. So the idea is that, yeah, so I understand where you're coming from.
Thank you.
But life isn't fair. And like like at the end of the day, like, if you're not willing to stand up and fight for your stuff, then like that sucks. Like,
well,
I don't know, what is a praiseworthy?
That is the question I want to ask. Like, a praiseworthiness.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's like telling someone who was born and raised under a celebrity household that what they have to say matters, and they grow up thinking that they're important. You get these people that grow up thinking that they're important,
right,
and that their views are really what matter, but they're so disconnected from reality, and they say something and it's so out of touch, but people lift them up with praiseworthiness because of something else. And then all of a sudden, Miley Cyrus is giving her political views, and people are liking it and loving it and wanting to listen to what she has to say.
Sure.
But she's probably like the most privileged person on the planet.
Yeah.
And everyone loves what she has to say, which is fine. I genuinely, I don't give a shit. But it's...
Clearly you do.
What do you mean?
You're very emphatic. You're very enthusiastic.
Yeah, I don't like anyone that lifts up a celebrity above like an actual person.
Yeah.
She's a person, and she's just as fucked up as the rest of us.
Sure.
And she's just as wrong as anyone else.
Sure.
And not just her, but anybody. And we take these people and we lift them up and we say, tell me what I should think, please.
Yeah.
And let me echo what you're telling me. And then post it on Facebook and have my friends who believe the same thing like it.
Do you think that's new? That's a new thing?
I think it's become...
Easier?
Not easier, obvious. Yes, easier, but it's become more... What's the word? You know words. Bigger and more relevant in society. Because everyone has a voice now. Everyone has a voice. And if everyone has a voice and they're just echoing what these people that they lift up say, these people who don't deserve to be lifted up, they're just normal people. They just have a bigger soapbox than the rest of us. And they're echoing what this person says.
Can anyone hope to not be a normal person?
What do you mean?
Like, you're like these people who, they're just normal people. It implies that there are people who are not normal people. And if they're not normal, are they more like, are there people who should be lifted up?
Yes.
Okay.
What
qualifies someone as that?
Honestly, I hate to say this because of my systematic views and my counterculturalism, but education.
Okay.
A higher education gives you the opportunity to, I think, have a stronger voice.
Like Neil deGrasse Tyson.
And that was where I was going with that, because that motherfucker bothers me, but he's really smart. And as much as he pisses me off sometimes with his arrogance, he has got way more good things to say than bad. And man, sometimes I want to punch him in the face, but overall, he's had such a strong effect, I think, culturally, and people lift up what he says, and that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because he's a man who not only went to school for, science and
astrophysics. Yeah.
Yes. That's okay. But to take somebody who was born to privilege, raised in privilege, and lives in privilege, and doesn't understand the real life, and is so disconnected from real life. And we've had this conversation before, and I really don't want to go back there. Because your argument was like, well, what if they aren't so disconnected? But it's like, they probably are, if we're being honest. They are disconnected from real life. From the rest of us. From those of us.
I'm agreeing with you.
Yes.
Like, I'm going with you. Continue.
Anyways. My point is, everyone's got their moral system based on something else. Something that they've been taught, something they've been told, something that they've read, something that somebody that they idolize has said. So if Socrates was alive today and said that banging babies is cool, and then all these people said, well, fuck, it's Socrates. Like, I'm going to start banging babies then.
Yeah. So yeah, like, so your argument is that, like, people choose not to have their own ideas and instead substitute the ideas of celebrities?
Not just the ideas, but the ethics of somebody else.
Sure.
Which is what compromises our character. Like, that is us.
Yeah,
is
yeah,
our
yeah.
ethics and our morality. That is who we are.
Right.
And if we model who we are based on someone that we idolize who is banging babies, that's a problem, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Okay.
Like, if someone like, but if someone, like, is rolling with an obsolete paradigm, right, then that's a problem for modern culture, right? That's a problem for everyone involved.
Right.
And so you can understand why someone would have a problem with someone who's a young earth atheist doing physics, or someone who is still rolling with phlogiston theory doing open heart surgery.
Yeah. And there's a lot of that.
I think astrology actually was the example he used.
I mean, I know you didn't pull up any numbers, and I of course I don't mean to, like,
deism with
call you out.
mathematicians.
With
is that where you're going?
mathematics.
I believe the numbers I used was 65%.
Yeah,
Yes.
whatever. I mean, you're not a
And
mathematician
in fact,
either.
Neil deGrasse Tyson brings that up in that conversation.
Now, is he a deist?
Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Yeah.
Hardcore atheist.
I would think so. Well, let me ask you some questions.
Not anti-theist, but...
Yeah, I'm not either. Like, it's one thing to not believe in something, but it's another thing to be, like, in opposition of it.
Yeah. Neil deGrasse Tyson, as I understand it, from this, and I obviously have never spoken to him, but from the specials that I've seen him on stage and panels and stuff like that. It's not that he has a problem with God. It's that he thinks that it's ultimately irrelevant because it's not testable, it's not reproducible,
And if,
like,
you,
it's
can't,
not
if
relevant.
you can't prove it, it doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Right.
And so he's like, he doesn't have a problem with people believing in it. He has a problem with it affecting the progress of science. Right?
Yeah.
Or it being used as a political weapon or stuff like that.
Right. And that's a huge can of worms.
Right. That's like 6 episodes.
At least.
All of that to say that, like, I said hardcore atheist, but he's not.
Let me ask you some questions regarding ethics. I like to think our listeners want to know what's in the head of LC. Now, everyone knows what's in the head of Randall Teabag, Randall
Whether
Thomas.
they like it not,
or
not.
It does.
You just can't stop.
Yeah, everyone knows what's going on upstairs for me, but not everyone knows what's going on with you, because in some ways it's like, I think you're going to think this way, and then you don't.
Isn't that great?
It's awesome. Let me ask you some questions regarding ethics. Now, this is
Yeah.
one of my favorite subjects because I'm so all over the place on this, and I want to know where you're at. Is it wrong to get a cup of water at McDonald's and fill it with Diet Coke?
What do you mean by wrong? Is it...
Exactly. What do you think? Not like, what do you think society says? What do you think? Is it wrong for me to get a cup of water at McDonald's and fill it with a Diet Coke?
Is this an online quiz?
No, this is a Randall Thomas quiz.
Oh, okay. All right. So I think if I had... I think that it's an irrelevant question.
No. We're not talking about
I'm going to continue and I'm going to answer it as though it were, right? But I think that if I had to, like, come down on it, I would say that it is unethical, but it is not immoral.
Okay.
Because it is quote unquote stealing, but it is stealing with so negligible an impact that it just does not matter.
What if myself and my legion of followers, I have a lot of friends.
Are you hiding followers
I have,
me right now?
Believe it or not, I have a lot of people who would relatively, and for, the most part, do what I say.
Get them on that Patreon page then. What are you talking about?
That goes against my ethics. So is it wrong? Is it wrong to keep that water cup and return daily with my army of Randallites and fill it with Diet Coke?
Please don't call yourself Randallites. So what you're right. You're taking it one step further, and you're amplifying the impact.
Yeah.
So the point is not negligible. At which point
there's only 15 of us. Don't go crazy.
I did just say like thousands or
No.
something?
It's an army of 15. Let's say
not an army. It's like a squad.
Okay, it's a militia.
You roll in with your squad.
My posse.
Yeah. And
We all got our water cups, and we go right up to that Diet Coke machine, slap it against it, and the ice comes down, and then you slam it against the thing, and it's usually tastes like shit.
I don't think that I don't think you've hit that point yet. I don't think that it's immoral. It definitely is like a shitty thing to do.
Okay.
Right? Because you can like be a dick, but still be technically coloring within the lines.
Okay. So do you put like a crayon inside your urethra if you're a dick coloring between the lines?
You are a very strange human being. Next question.
What if I purchased the Diet Coke properly, but brought that cup back?
I like how you put on your radio voice when you're reading.
You know what?
Properly.
Properly. But brought that cup back. Instead of buying a new one, I brought the same cup back. But I bought it the first time. Is that any less than using a cup that I did not buy to fill with Diet Coke?
Yes. But unless they had a sign that said free refills are only for that day.
Okay. I used to do that in high school. There was a Wendy's next door to my high school, and I kept a cup in my locker.
Yeah.
And every day after school, I'd walk to Wendy's while I waited for the bus or whatever.
Yeah.
And get myself a Dr. Pepper.
And if someone stops you and says, "Hey, it's only per that day," it counts as being a sign there.
It only happens. It's only happened to me once. Now I do that regularly. I almost never pay for soda if I'm at a fast food joint. I almost always get a water cup and I fill it up with something else. Mm-hmm. Because I think it's funny. Mm-hmm. Because the impact is so minimal and the upcharge on soda itself is ridiculous.
Right.
If you look at it.
Right.
And like to the point where I've actually said before, do you want to drink with that? When they ask me, and I'll say, no, just give me a water cup. I'm going to put Diet Coke in it. And almost always, except for one example, they say...
Was it at Chipotle?
They laugh, and they say, okay. Mm-hmm. No, this is actually at Subway.
Chipotle's generally have signs up also, so...
I do it all the time at Chipotle. I also take their forks and their Tabasco sauce.
Okay, the Tabasco sauce is definitely both unethical and immoral.
I totally like...
That's not what those are
if
for.
If you ever walk by my desk at work, I have 3 or 4 things of Tabasco sauce. And I don't even like it that much, but I put it on...
I'm going to be a dick today.
All right, so what if I was going to close a major deal and had to choose between 2 companies? The one I was going to choose anyways offered a bribe, so I took it knowing that I was going to choose them regardless. Is that unethical?
Yes, because you used the word bribe. Definitionally, like a bribe is definitionally
But I was
unethical.
going to choose them anyways. Let's say it's between black and white, and I wanted black because it looks cooler. Mm-hmm. And then black was like, yo, I got this bribe, dog. And I said, okay, I'll take it. But I was going to choose you anyways.
Right.
How is that unethical? I was already going to choose them. It's just like a kickback for like making the right decision. So
what you're saying is like, what if it was incentive? Not because like if you use the word bribe, bribe is inherently unethical. Period. It is corruption. It is the definition. It is definitionally unethical.
Okay.
But if you want to talk about like incentive or signing bonus or like there's a lot of ways.
I could talk about that.
Yeah.
All right. So you say that's wrong to accept a bribe for something I was going to do anyways.
No, yeah, it is unethical. And depending on like if your job is based on you being ethical, it's probably immoral too.
Okay. Like, and would you ever do it?
Whenever I ever do it, probably not. No.
Dude, I would do that shit in a second. If I had to choose between something and someone said, "Hey, yo."
No, so like the reason I wouldn't do it is because it endangers my future activities.
Have you ever like accepted a bribe before?
No.
Oh man.
It's time for Randall Thomas's Shame Blanket of the Week.
Aww.
Is this happening right now?
It is. So when I used to sell cell phones, man,
Is that my voice? Is that awe?
No,
That's the second time you've used a clip that sounds like me.
So when I used to sell cell phones, I had this guy that came in that was a shady character. And when the iPhones first released them...
So naturally, you became his best friend.
More or less. I count their teeth, and if it's an even number, then I won't do business with them. But if it's an odd number, then I will.
Shut up.
It's a principle. It's a code of ethics that I live by.
Yeah.
So this guy
I really wish we had video, because then I wouldn't have to say things. Just the look on my face would be sufficient.
So this guy came in. He's like, "Hey, yo, you've got iPhones now. I like the cheapest carrier that carries iPhones. If I give you X amount of dollars, will you more hinting at the idea, will you open up these false accounts?" I said, "Okay, well, let's talk about those X amount of dollars then."
Yeah.
And before you know it.
As opposed to you working at Wells Fargo, where
let's not say I worked at any bank in particular, but one of the major banks I worked at, something very similar happened.
Yeah,
but I didn't get termed from my cell phone carrier for doing that, because that's not against policy. It's up to discretion. What is a discretion? I could just say that I didn't know, and what are they going to do? Like, my numbers were high anyways. This just pushed them over.
Well, who's it up to is the person with the band hammer.
Yeah. And it wasn't until like I did something like completely absurd until I got canned, which was another ethics issue. It was a guy that's another friend of mine at a different store met on Craigslist who was going bankrupt, and he had good credit up until recently, and then he lost his job. And he was letting his house go into foreclosure. He was doing all these things and just charging as much money to his name as he possibly could. And then was going to file bankruptcy to alleviate all of his debt. And then my buddy told me this, and he's like, well, what if we just fuck with his account, like get some commission, and then sell what we mess with on the side? So, that's a good idea, man. It's a really good idea.
I'm sure this can't possibly blow back on us.
No problems. And I'll tell you what, man, there were no problems, because I am, believe it or not, I'm very discreet in how I handle my rule bending.
Your indiscretions.
My indiscretions. I'm extremely discreet in my indiscretions. But the other guy was not. And then he got caught.
You know what they say?
What's that?
Dead men tell no tales.
I should have killed him.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you another one. What if I clone my domestic partner and then bang her clone? Is that unethical?
That depends entirely upon the rules of your domestic partnership.
But what if I make her clone look like her super hot cousin?
Again, it has to do with the rules on your domestic partnership.
What if I pee at a pool in a public place? Is that
this
unethical?
Falls into the same thing as like the first question. Is that like it's
depends
so
on the
irrelevant.
relationship?
Do you have a communicable disease like we pass through urine?
Probably.
Then yes.
Okay.
On both accounts.
Okay, well, let's say I don't. Is it wrong to pee in a pool in a public place?
No, again, it could be considered a jerk thing to do, but
it's
no,
not unethical or immoral.
Yeah.
Okay, what if it's a private party I was invited to as a +1?
Those are the situations where it's not unethical or immoral, but it's still definitely blameworthy.
What if I'm at a private party and I was invited to, and I'm the +1, and the person whose party I'm going to is a total stranger, and the stranger is swimming around where I just peed? Should I let them know?
You mean to ask me if not letting them know is immoral?
Yes.
It's wrong. Okay.
Because these people are really nice. They
yes.
grilled out.
Yes, I'm gonna go with
over.
yes. I'm gonna go with that. It is both immoral and unethical to allow someone to come into contact with your bodily fluids.
What if I shit in a public restroom and don't flush?
I think that's a jerky thing to do.
It's
blameworthy, but it's not either of those. Again, do you have any communicable diseases?
No, but what if it's like my friend's mom's house and she has diabetes and cancer, and then I shit, and she can't even flush it herself? Is that more immoral than shitting into?
Yes, because you are making this person's measurably life worse.
So it's more of an impact.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what you said from the beginning. Let's say I found a copy of a DVD, my favorite movie, Heavyweights, in the trash can outside of a Walmart, and I grab that and I take it.
It turns out there's Coke inside. Probably,
but whatever. I would have done that and been done with it. But let's watch Heavyweights. Is that immoral for me to take something out of the trash and use it?
No, because it has definitionally it has been surrendered.
Okay.
It is ownerless.
What if I find the same copy of that DVD on the internet?
On a shelf. Oh.
On the internet.
Unethical.
How so?
Because you are definitely breaking the law.
But I would
law is codified ethics.
But I'm not worried about the law.
It doesn't matter if you're worried about it or not. That's the whole point of ethics, is it doesn't matter whether you care about it or not. It still binds you.
But did the law stop you? Let's say this was 100 years ago and you still liked banging dudes. And it was against the law to bang dudes. Would you still bang dudes?
Well, yes.
Okay, well, that's unethical. And it's wrong. It's immoral. Well, not immoral, but it's unethical. Right?
I suppose by the definition I gave, like if you do something that is illegal, it is unethical. So I will revise my statement.
There we go. That's all I wanted.
Yeah. So like, it comes down to, do you consider pirating stealing?
Do I?
The inclusive you, but like.
I mean, it depends.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I think it's real important to notice that
well,
they use the word piracy.
Again, the measure of impact, right? Me pirating a movie that I would never pay for.
Right.
I wouldn't watch it unless I could pirate it.
Right.
It has no impact.
Right.
Because I would never pay for it to begin with.
Right.
It's unethical, but not
like
immoral.
A lot of it comes down to when you talk about the formation of codes of ethics and stuff like that, and laws specifically, but since again laws are just an attempt at codifying ethics.
Sure.
So the idea is you have to formulate them in such a way as, like, imagine that you are coming up with these rules while having no knowledge of your demographics.
Okay.
Who you are, basically. All you know is that you are a human who will be bound to this standard.
Okay.
Right? Or rather, subject to those.
Subject is better because to be bound is the opposite of being free.
Well, no. Is who will be subject to those who choose not to adhere to this standard.
Okay.
Right. And so that then race and creed and station and things like that do not factor into these decisions. If everyone were to act like this, right?
Sure.
How it would function. So if everyone was just like stealing movies left and right, then it would have the impact of stealing movies, right? Pirating movies left and right.
Sure.
It would have the impact of stealing movies. So that's why I say it's unethical.
Okay.
It's like a white lie, like a paper cut, stuff like that. Like, it's not a major offense. It's not a cardinal sin, but it is unethical.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes total sense.
Thank you.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been
What We Talked About.